Hello and welcome to the Learning Square. In this video tutorial, I will talk about the lists in R. So list is basically a very powerful data structure available in R. It can contain an arbitrary combination of objects in it. I just start off with the simplest list. There's an inbuilt command to create list called list, and I give it elements. So you can see there's a list of 4 elements which is created. The length can be seen using the length command. Now if I want, I can have this list to contain an array or a vector. You can see it's a list of one element wherein this element is a vector. Now let me create another list, list 2, which would be a combination of 2 vectors. So I have one vector here and I create another vector like this. So that's my list 2. It has 2 elements now. Similarly, I can have another list which will have a data frame as its component. So for that I will first create a data frame. So I have my df, assign it using the data.frame, give serial numbers ranging from 1 to 5. I'll have a 5 element data frame here. Quantity, I can use the sequence command. So I will start from 5, increment by 10, and the length I want is 5 because I want 5 elements. So that's my quantity, and I'll have names assigned to these. So it will again be a string, could be any fruits that I want. So that's my data frame that I create. So I have 5 observations of 3 variables. I can also view my data frame here. So that's my data frame. Now this can also be contained in the list here. So I make another list, list 4, and I say it has 2 elements. One is my df and the second element could be a vector from 1 to 10. So you can see list 4 is created and it's a list of 2. Similarly, I could have a list which contains a list, another list. So I have list 5, which is a list. It has my df as the first element, a vector as the second, and maybe list 1 or list 2 as the third element. So I have list of 3 here. You can check it using length command. If I want to check the names of my list, so I have names, list 5. So there are no names assigned to it. I can assign the names using this command. So I say names of list 5, and remember I have to make this equal to a vector of strings, but the number should be same. The number of elements should be equal to the number of columns that I have. So I will say my first was my data frame, then my second could be vector, and third could be my list. Again I can check names of list 5. So you can see these are the names which have been assigned to it. I could also name in other ways. So I have maybe list 6 here, and I say it's a list wherein my data frame is equal to my df, my list is equal to list 2, and my vector is 2 to 6. So you can see a list of 3 elements has been created. If I want to check the names, these are the names that have been assigned. So my data frame, my list, and my vector are the names given to this particular list. Now to be able to retrieve an element, so suppose I want for list 6, I want my first element. So my first element was actually a data frame, so this is returned. So I use double brackets, square brackets to be able to retrieve this. I could also have said list 6 and given the name of my data frame here. So suppose I wanted my vector to be displayed. I missed out the inverted commas, so because that's the name, so you can see my vector is now displayed here. So I could retrieve using either the index of the element or the name of the column that I had assigned it. So I'll just first view my df. So that's my df. I could have extracted this particular, suppose I want to find out the names. So I want to access this, so I will say list 6 double square brackets. My first element was my df, and I could have again used the dollar sign to extract this value out of it. So these values are out. Now if I want to create an empty list, then I can just say empty list, that's the name, or any name that you want to name it to, and I assign it as a vector. This is basically because list is a special type of vector, so that is why you use this. Mode is equal to list, and I say length is equal to maybe 5. So I want 5 elements here. So you can see all these 5 elements are null right now. I can directly assign these values to it, so I can say empty list, and maybe I want to assign the second value as 5. So again, if I see this, you can see the second value is now 5. I could add new values to it, so I could say empty list. So maybe I say I want a 6th element here, and I want to assign it a vector 1 to 10. So again, if I see my empty list now, the second element was 5 and a 6th element has been added, wherein this is a vector 1 to 10. I could have added name to it, so I would have said empty list, and I maybe assign a name new, and I say it's the list 1 that I had created. So again, if I say empty list, you can see all these values were as before, and a new value has been added to this, wherein this is actually a list now. This brings us to the end of this lecture. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.